starts off with the mid-year family subsiding in Westchester Region, New York. Connie, the mother T.I.L. gets their 8-year-old child. Charlie prepared for school in the first part of the day after, which Edward the dad drives him to school and heads off to work with everybody out. Connie heads to the city for some shopping. A startling experience happens when a whirlwind tosses her into a man named Paul, prompting a tumble worried about her harmed knees. Paul welcomes her up to his loft to keep an eye on the injuries in Paul's place. Connie sees a broad assortment of books and contemplates whether he's an essayist, to which he uncovers he's a book retailer. In the wake of grabbing the washroom, Connie requests to utilize Paul's telephone to mind her child during the call. Paul shocks her by applying ice to her knees, and prior to leaving, he demands she take a book as a gift that evening, as several endeavors to revive their conjugal fire they are interfered with by a call from their child Charlie, putting an end to their cozy second the following morning with Edward and Charlie away for work and school. Connie analyzes the book she took from Paul and finds a card with his telephone number. She chooses to call and offer thanks for his help. In any event, proposing to send him wine bottles anyway. Paul recommends she visit him for espresso. Rather inviting her, Paul assists Connie with her jacket, and she coincidentally finds a Braille book in an uncommon development. Paul shows her how to peruse Braille with a basic activity of shutting her eyes and feeling the message in spite of an evident fascination. Connie leaves wrestling with her feelings. This internal conflict doesn't be ignored by Edward, who detects something amiss yet knows nothing about its temperament. The next day, Connie chooses to pay one more visit to Paul's condo. Paul, ever the noble man, welcomes her to move, and as they influence, he respects Connie's excellence. In an epiphany, Connie declares her failure to betray her significant other and chooses to leave anyway. In her scramble, she fails to remember her jacket and gets back to recover it in an unforeseen turn. Paul embraces her and conveys her to his bed, where they yield to their longings. Connie, conflicted between her heart and the delight she finds at the time, wrestles with the circumstance on the train back home. Culpability washes over Connie, provoking her to make a DRFTFC stride by disposing of her clothing in the washroom. Regardless of these tangled sentiments, Connie proceeds with her contact with Paul. An opportunity experience adds a layer to the intricacy when Edward catches Bounce, the individual Connie had been teaming up with for a school closeout. Sway professes to have been away and ignorant about Connie's new exercises, leaving Edward dubious bit by bit. Edward starts to detect a change in his better half's conduct. A watchful call uncovers, feels that Connie has become snared in an illicit relationship with Paul, prompting a developing lack of engagement in her significant other issues, raised when Connie and Paul share a kiss at an eatery unbeknownst to them. That charge, a representative of Edward, observes the close second. Edward inquires as to whether they can eat by 2. She guarantees she has a bartering. He then changes the opportunity to early afternoon, yet she lets him know that she needs to go to a facial shop. He then, at that point, calls the facial shop from work and is educated that Connie doesn't have an arrangement. It just so happens. Connie visits Paul in the bistro, where they have intercourse in the bathroom. Edward, filled by doubts, makes a conclusive stride, gaining of traitorousness inside his organization from Bill, who consequently gets shot. Edward regards Charge's exhortation to beware of his better half, depending on a confidential specialist named Plain. Edward orchestrates to tail Connie at a supper discussion. Edward drops the fresh insight about a work excursion to Chicago the following morning at 8 hour, making way for additional advancements. While Edward keeps an act of venturing out to Chicago, Connie and Paul dare to the movies, enjoying their mysterious contact unbeknownst to them. Straightforward catches a preview of the couple as they leave the film. However, one day Connie's obligation to her undertaking causes significant damage when she neglects to get her child from school, and Charlie stays in school until late around evening time. Do you want to see part 2 of this video? Subscribe to the channel and comment part 2. Thanks for watching. I would see you at part 2.